Welcome everyone to another open source Linux live stream. New major version out here, Qemu 5.0 for those who are new to open source on this channel. Qemu, of course, a decade-old, long established open source initial emulator, later virtualization in terms of KVM, kernel virtual machine. What makes it stand out from VMware and VirtualBox and Parallels and whatnot is that it also supports plenty of other architectures, so you can emulate PowerPC, Spark, Alpha, Intenium, RISC-V and many more, and along the lines use this with virtualization on not only Intel like Parallels or VMware or what, but also for ARM PowerPC. So yeah, KVM, by the way, kernel-based virtual machines for having the Linux kernel there as hypervisor, in contrast to other systems where you, like Xen, where you would have a special hypervisor that you need to boot. So what is new? Unfortunately, not really sure why, or unfortunately, I don't on the first glance see here why they call this 5 except deleting Bluetooth code, because why fix something when you can delete it? And the usual incompatible changes that we love so much, not only on our preferred architectures like Alpha 68K, but otherwise on x86, nothing even listed here, so not really sure if, well, but of course it's established not that much, of course, performance and Intel CPU vulnerability mitigations. But otherwise, yeah, not the biggest changes listed here. So on the first glance, not the very best communication in terms of why is this 5.0, except incompatible changes and having a major version, except maybe PowerPC, which also, fun fact, we probably should test on the PS3 and on Apple G4 and G5 another day. So with that being said, yesterday we were even using it, obviously, because that's what we are using here on a daily basis to test our stuff. And yesterday, on what coincidence, we had exactly the issue that our precious little ISO didn't boot, and spent a couple of hours or two to figure out why it doesn't boot. Now it boots again, and here you see, of course, the use case of Qemu and system, and here you would, of course, have PowerPC and stuff. So what I've done already, I can show you in a second. Why this ISO didn't boot, yesterday's x86 fame. But for now, let's also test this with, before we also here running thread ripping away, which, by the way, in fact, I should actually check if we run this with all CPU cores, because the other day we run this with parallel Max 32 here on this epic thread ripping Ryzen 3950X, but not a paid advertisement, just the fastest desktop CPU we can afford. And so updating, you've seen this 100,000 times, MT2 is super easy. Just update package Qemu 5.0 in terms of, maybe they have a triple digit, of course they have. And then we can build this in parallel. So running here, we will also, I just started this just a minute before the live stream. We will, as usual, recurring theme, have a couple of build errors of Perl and Python. I rebuilt this because we had so many changes on all the many live streams, which is certainly pretty amazing that so many people watch and support me here with sums and subscriptions, with also recurring testing, because I just want to be sure. Rebuilding with latest GCC bin utils, I had this randomly downdated the other day, probably mostly for Spark actually, so I just want to make it sure and double check that if we rebuild everything with latest and greatest bin utils, GCC, Linux kernel, and fun fact, do we have a new Linux kernel? Every other day Linux kernel release. Let's see, but maybe 5.6.8 we have this already, I think. So rebuilding this and also Qemu, so we will test both while we wait for the set standard recompression. Let's take a closer look. So incompatible changes, just so why do they do this? They clean this code up. Not the super greatest fan of this, but I certainly can also understand a little bit that you don't want to drag totally vintage code forever around. Although some stuff like, yeah, especially what usually annoys me the most is this Bluetooth. Although it was maybe broken, okay, but can it really be so much of a big hassle to fix this? But nah. Anyway, leave me in the comments below all this constant code deletion. Also, speaking about code deletion, I already wanted to make a dedicated video about this on ARM. I also really wonder why they call this ARM32 now ARch32, like seriously. But on ARM32, they deleted in upstream Linux kernel support for KVM. Not the most amused, not that I would use it the most, but there certainly are millions of ARM32 devices, phones, even the initial Raspberry Pi and stuff. Can it really be that hard? Well, with all the low-level code we do on this channel, is it really that hard to fix this and keep it around? But yeah, support for ARM32 KVM guests has been deprecated because the Linux kernel has dropped the support, like dropped as in deleted. Otherwise, yeah, ARM the largest changes, but you also see, I said this before, ARM not becoming not as less complex than x86, so really many variants here of boards and CPUs and so on. Even some HP Hewlett-Packard Precision architecture, previous video here of our own hardware, vintage stuff, so PS2 keyboard, mouse. This is LASI chip, which probably is even, oh wait a second, this is wrong. Only on this channel I run this wrong. Did we mess something? Of course we messed something up. I should be more careful what I do here. Let's hope the config recovers, always cancelling the config mit so. Yeah, we broke something. Darn. Yeah, I actually tried to log this. What did we broke now? It doesn't look too broken. Minimal xorg cross temp fs. Why would this region know everything? Or do we, maybe it's, oh no, it stopped at GCC, all is fine. Because we wanted to build into the system what could possibly go wrong. Qemu. And yeah, even some Hewlett-Packard, this is what I meant, that Qemu, for those playing along at home, you don't always need to buy expensive overpriced vintage hardware. Not the greatest fan of this, because prices are really crazy there on eBay. Just run it in Qemu. You can also travel with it and don't have this energy consuming dusting hardware around. MIPS even here, R4000. Some new registers here. Amended support for CP0 registers of memory, map ID, whatever stuff. OpenRISC even fixed a bug, PowerPC, RISC-V even. Yeah. Also, what do we have here? Python to specify, Python, nah. Yeah, the issue is I keep shuffling this around. I probably have to clean up this Python stuff in T2 in our source distribution. The issue is that some packages still expect Python there. I need to, most prominently of course, Firefox of all the packages that should be here, also autoconf 2.13 or whatever from 1998, 2-decade-old autoconversion there in Firefox. So yeah, what do you expect? Let's Python 3. So what I probably need to do is patch or export variables, depending on if they have support for that, to Firefox and stuff, so that I don't need to keep shoveling Symlinks around here, because it is here's the decade. Let's try that again. So yeah, but anyway, Firefox has bigger bootstrap problems. So just while we wait here, so also this will be a reference. I'm not really sure. Can probably only live stream now 1 hour, because live. Also, by the way, public holiday, right? 1st May day here, day of work and stuff. Public holiday in Germany, but yeah, time and dedication and open source. Weekends, nights, and public holidays. That's how you're doing it. But yeah, probably 1 hour. Really curious how fast the AMD EPIC thread ripping Ryzen will thread rip through the stuff. The recurring theme, of course, LLVM, GCC, of course, scaling beautifully here to all the threads and cores, but the issue, of course, recurring theme here, the long configure times that are not parallel and rather serial, wasting too many CPU cycles. Yeah, speaking about compiling Qemu in no time, so we can already test this. I'm not tested this before, so live here on. Yeah, this is also that. So does this come still up? Is this also the real thing or just some? Let's check version. Yeah, 5.0. Fabrice Bellard. And let's test this with the built-in C BIOS for old-fashioned. So yeah, this is coming up, but the real test will also be in 1 hour when we have our ISO finished. So this we can commit, no other straight changes, 4.2 to 5. Then we only need to wait for our T2 build to build. What else do they have here? Memory backends, hostmem based for pre-alloc threads, used to explicitly specify number of pre-alloc threads during backend initialization. Set to one thread, use or whatever. Monitor. We have comments in the audience. Welcome everyone. There. You seem to look a bit tired today. Yeah, that comes from working day and night. Thanks for that compliment. But yeah, working day and night and open source debugging out stuff. All right, I can tell you. So we basically are mostly through it here. Some convert Qemu image target is 0 option, which tells the target image to completely 0. It doesn't need to be zeroed again. Whatever works for Lux images. What? Anyway, so the issue, we had this issue yesterday that the ISO didn't boot at all in Qemu, not wanting to find files. Took here quite a while, which by the way, I probably still have this mounted here. You mount MNT. So how I debug this, I mounted this working ISO from January and copied files over. So I basically, copied files from MNT. So from the mounted ISO, I replaced this between the T2 build target and create ISO process. And so to no surprise, so it wasn't the XOR ISO, it wasn't, it wasn't like general post-processing surrounding scripting stuff. As soon as I copied here some of those binaries, they started to work, and it was still relatively time-consuming and error-prone to find out why. And the reason why was actually an uncommitted change. So this is of course breaking our own stuff and trying to make stuff better and breaking it while it did. And what I broke was, you might have seen this in a previous video. I had here some uncommitted change. So thankfully I didn't broke this in the subversion tree for other people playing along at home. So for you, it probably most likely worked. And what I changed here is what got on my nerves a little bit, which mostly like not looking very nicely, is using Clang or Clang of LLVM project fame. And this Clang, what is super annoying when you compile stuff like Clang whatever with S for strip meaning in stripping debugging information out, so like removing everything not vital for the binary, like a program, you use a compiler, GCC, Clang, you compile your stuff like misc, archive, hello, C here, and with Clang, so S is for strips, there are of course plenty of options like optimize, whatever, and one of those is S for strip. Previously, of course, in vintage old-fashioned fame, there's also a separate strip program from binutils, and so you can also just compile this here with Clang or your favorite GCC, and then when you have this output like A out, this will tell you that this contains, like with file magic, not stripped, as in containing debugging symbol, as it says here, with debugging info. And this is what you need to debug is this with GDB, for example, GDB A out and break on main. So like run this and running through there, at least having some symbols. And if you ship this, of course, this debug information makes this binaries larger, which you may or may not like, which may or may not be fine for you. And probably usually if you want to ship something, your program or your Linux distribution or you will ISO. With C++ programs, it might actually dramatically increase the size. So for something like Firefox, the debug information for those millions of lines of C++ code, the debug information might actually be like a gigabyte, a whopping freaking gigabyte, not making this shit up. I had already builds failing, not only on good old-fashioned SCSI hard drives, so could only even be you build GCC with debug symbols and your previous video Spark, Ultra Spark or stuff, or SG-Octane, your like 8 gigabyte rotational magnetic hard drive storage is even not large enough to build something with debug symbols. So I even had this decades ago builds on this kind of vintage hardware, even back in the day vintage hardware, failing as in out of space, and even on modern systems with tempfs, what we usually use here to speed up the build, to have all the temporary build artifacts not on the rotating hard drive storage or SSD, but super fast memory. And with that, if you don't have freaking like our own overbuild AMD Ryzen right now, previous video memory upgrade, here's the largest currently consumer modules of 32 megabyte module. So if you only run like on a ultra thin Intel something netbook as a road warrior on the go at your customer, and you use tempfs for building, you might even run out of memory on a ultra thin something with soldered on memory. Certainly not amazing. So if you have like only 8 gigs of memory, which probably also why you don't want so little memory, and run tempfs, you might even run out of memory in tempfs with debug symbols like Firefox, LLVM, especially the C++ stuff usually blows up the debug symbols vastly. So gigabytes of Qt, OpenOffice, Firefox, LLVM, Clang, you name it. And so why do I explain this detail? Also, I explain this for you to learn something. Some of you might not never heard about this or heard about stripping debug info and always wondered what it is. So if you run strip on this stuff like strip out and then file.out, now this file magic stuff will also tell you that it's stripped, which tell you there behind the video. You also see, so we could probably have shown you the size. So this is of course only in Hello World 35K, and when we strip it, it is only significantly smaller, some nearly 30% of the size. And so the issue is, as you've seen, this works, and it is of course faster not even have GCC generate this in the first place. This is why certainly not on a epic thread ripping Ryzen doesn't really matter too much with all these CPU cycles to spare, but certainly it matters even if it's like 10% faster if your epic or thread ripping Ryzen builds an ISO in 2 hours or whatever your configuration might be, 10%, like 10 minutes here or something, everything adds up. And this is why historically we have this in there to, if you have this global configuration of debug symbols in T2, then not even spend time generating them, writing them to disk, and especially with all the 1,000 or 10,000 of objects of Firefox or OpenOffice or Linux kernel in the first place. And the issue is, so this worked for decades, this code is decades old, maybe I or Claire or someone has done 15 years ago, whatever. And the issue is now that when you compile multiple objects like this, also, no, I didn't mean this, I meant that. And so this of course works, stripping symbol files, but Clang will output here argument unused during compilation -s, like seriously, why? I'm actually not really sure. I think I checked that out with GCC and I thought actually it made a difference. We can actually take a quick look. So just compiling this, we have hello.o, and when we compile this with -s, okay, this doesn't make a difference for this small little file. So the question is, I should double check. So what I've done here for this small little example doesn't make a difference. However, due to that, I had this changed here and not yet committed because I wasn't not yet satisfied and didn't really test this. So I had this changed because, so what we do here is we use our compiler wrapper that is wrapping each compiler invocation and can transform all the options to fix all the, automatically fix all the cross-compile stuff and other package configuration, headers not found because not very cleanly written configure scripts and makefiles and stuff. So what I had here locally was if compile, then this is a conditional argument stuff that actually I implemented over a decade ago in our Rock Linux, nowadays T2 command line wrapping stuff. So if compile, then nothing, otherwise this is mimicking this C and Verilog kind of question mark operator here. And so this is what I had here. And so this harmless thing, so this I've only done this, there you see, you only do this for cosmetics, because when you build with Clang, the log files are actually very long, like for some log files, they can become twice as long, with every second line being argument, maybe not actually, if there's some warning, maybe not really twice as long, maybe 10% longer, depending on how many warnings you get in your build, project build. But so this tiny little cosmetic stuff of just prettifying this little bit, also by the way, if you're still building, this caused grub to fail because this grub2 has some module system, and apparently it needs this, at least as far as I found, it needs this symbol. So it took me like an hour or two. You've seen this yesterday. You can scratch and guru meditate here very long about such details. And at the end of the day, it is simply this. So in grub, we remove this again. So all the like 99% of the packages built with in T2 with -s for stripping if configured for no debug symbols, and all except like maybe the Linux kernel and grub2 here. And this obviously didn't work anymore because I had this locally. So we had here -c question mark this. And of course, if in grub we want to remove the stripping stuff, so if this wrappers automatically should add -s for stripping, and in grub2 we want to remove it because no, we definitely don't want to strip this away. This tiny little line was a culprit of the bug causing that. I could have changed this to that, but it would of course not scale very well. Each time you would touch this in the GCC options, you would need to adapt this. So I opted for now to revert this here in this path configs to, as you see, I've not yet committed, I've like basically just reverted this. I didn't like it very much to start with, just to remove this conditional stuff for Clang, Clang. Can leave in the comments below what you would like most. So yeah, this tiny little uncommitted change of just like the only unsuccessful one-man distribution user here. All the other companies using T2 for their systems were not affected by this change here. So much to testing, more testing, and that's what we do here live on this channel. Theoretically, we could also, but although I'm probably running a little bit out of time, we need to do two things, like Qemu, also, can actually we build this? I'm slightly wondering why this Qemu fails now. I think, so this is also, we need to investigate. So the issue is we patch this, this only happens because we auto-regen this, like auto-reconfigure of this M4 macro pre-processing stuff, of old-fashioned configure stuff. For now, I touch this for a second. So we build sets, then that maybe, I'm not really sure if we just need to build autoconf there, but for now it's somewhat irrelevant. But there you see so many combinations where stuff can break. Also, yeah, we recurring theme here implementing a new feature. Next week it is broken, of course, through bootstrapping. With touching the log file recurring theme here, like YOLOing that of like, yeah, better stuff to do. Just continuing the build, and it's like, yeah, whatever. But eventually I need to fix this, certainly can't be for you and stuff playing along at home. Speaking about playing along at home, where's our PS3? Actually, yeah, I'm running. There's our precious tool, so satisfying the also bugs, real world microphone bugs, satisfying the P3 fans there at home. Probably, so I have also do this weekend is the usual recurring theme here, business like Louis Rossman and mine, working not only day and night and stuff on public holidays, and when you have actually like a broken ankle, fun fact. Anyway, sitting here all day and night, whatever. Also need to fill out some text papers, so for maximum testing, fun stuff that we do here. So probably using my precious, right, never been filling out text papers, coming next to filling out text papers on public holiday on your P3 tool. So probably firing that up, but probably after public holiday lunch with my wife. So probably that coming up next, maximum testing here. So probably by the way, while we wait for this, could probably actually already fire that up. But yeah, because I probably, so what this means, you can never test enough. Of course, the more I use it, certainly also the like PowerPC stuff. I could also use the G4 Cube, but the G4 Cube has broken XOC driver, so my own partially isolated RSX driver working better than the upstream ATI Radeon on the G4 Cube, because the Apple Mac 99 AGP caching currency, whatever, broken since ages. Whatever, last man unsuccessful distribution guy keeping all the stuff working. But yeah, P3, so that means RD, virtual machine connection stuff to filling out some text paper and whatever I found broken. We have some stuff. I intentionally built this x86 ISO cross, although it's not like really cross built, meaning from one architecture to another, usually x86 compiling to PowerPC, because epic thread ripping, Ryzen, right? But this means also exposing bugs and testing, because so not only cross build saves me some time, because the native builds of T2 rebuild some stuff. Like for a cross build, we build toolchain in stage 0, which is this stage 0 here. This is what the stages are for. So stage 0 toolchain, like compiler and some compressor, like you might not have set standard around. So building all of this stuff. Also grub2. Why do we build grub2 in the toolchain? Because we need this grub2 MK image binaries to build the ISO. So not relying on maybe you may or may not have it on your system. So we built it there to have it. Also, you might have one, but it's outdated because you run outdated Debian or something. So this is why we built all the stuff here. And now we just transitioned to the cross stage 1 cross stage, where all the stuff is built cross-compiled, even for a native build for bootstrapping, because you might build on some outdated Debian and you can't mix outdated glibc and binutils and GCC. This is why even for a native build, the stages are the same, just that for a native build after this cross stage, we change root into the new sandbox and build everything again. So this is why a native build can build more like everything, except maybe some Rust bootstrapping hiccup. But a cross build is also faster, because on a cross build, we cannot build everything, but on a cross build, we also do not rebuild stuff. So we save a little bit of like rebuilding GCC and glibc. We bootstrap it, and then just for the paranoid sanity testing and checking and stuff, rebuild it. So cross build testing this on x86 saves a little of my time in tests for PowerPC, MIPS, ARM, RISC-V, Spark, and basically everything. It tests the ISO that we generate, so that the x86 ISO is cross-built in the same way, the same feature set, so that if there are files missing, so probably we need to do some tweaks soon, also the usual tiny little polishing. The glibc should have, the cross-compile glibc doesn't have the locales, which I always knew, but now that we cross-compile more for PowerPC in good old-fashioned days, I natively compiled this on a G5, but even the G5 is now approaching 15 years probably, huh? Is that true? 2005, 2015, yeah, probably 15 years, huh? Freaking time is running. Of course, when the G5 was new, dual core 2 dual core 2 gigahertz, G5 was pretty decent, obviously, relatively, but with the code bloat of even open source, not only Microsoft and macOS, but nowadays it's not even fun to build stuff on the G5. So probably building an ISO, I wouldn't be surprised if it for sure takes 3 days, if not 5 days or a whole week. So to just build a minimal ISO on, you've seen the PS3, just building the Amiga emulator, the AUFS, whatever, previous live stream, it took like, I think from recollection, 40 minutes. So yeah, so some small stuff to be done that it also puts not only testing, so it allows me to test that when people use the x86 ISO in their virtual machines and playing along at home, I get the same feedback as P3 and SJ Octane and stuff, and it puts more, not that I need more pressure, but puts somewhat more pressure of improving this, so that when we build it, tweaking the glibc package a little bit more to have shipped with some more locales or time zones and whatever, or change if this needs, this is the crux of the stuff. Some of the stuff needs to run helper programs, so maybe changing this local generation, adding some glue code to the post-install steps of the T2 ISO, so that we and not that only our, otherwise, if I would say YOLO, like I say so often here, then only the x86 native or only native ISOs would be feature complete, so it's probably better to fix a small little low-hanging fruits and make the cross-compile stuff better. So welcome everyone. What is John Cohn means with so clean? What do you mean with so clean? So yeah, Morg says know how to do all this. Only if Morg would know how to do all this compiling stuff and fixing stuff. G5 is from 2005, so 15 years. Yeah, time is running, right? It's like, feels like yesterday. Anyway, also Perlberg. Yeah, so this is one of the few things. Maybe we actually should fix this. Let's touch this and maybe take a look. Always doing here something. And yeah, just giving you a summary of background information, and then already some 40 minutes are gone. But anyway, Perl. Let's see what exactly is Perlisher. So in good old-fashioned, like good old-fashioned yesteryear, Perl actually cross-compiled. Darn, this was in Tempelfest. So you only have, all we have left is a error. So what does it want? Can't find, okay, it can't find GDB stuff. So that is actually not too much. So actually I expected worse. GDB, let's see if we have even have this in the, this also reminds me, very theoretically, I wanted to check if we can remove BDB, this Berkeley database stuff that Oracle purchased. I never was the greatest fan of BDB. Cheers. But might be, you see the build time somehow increases exponentially, even if you throw epic thread ripping AMD Ryzen stuff on it, which also, fun fact, maybe AMD wants to sponsor this and send some real thread ripping and epic stuff around. But yeah, Angelo says LFS is a good way to learn these things. Yeah, Linux from scratch certainly is a good way, or just look at T2. This is also why, in my opinion, of course, it's a little bit, actually, in retrospect, I don't even quite remember when LFS came around. We always, at Rock Linux, always considered our build scripts pretty nice documentation for exactly this stuff. So if you look into this conf files here, similar to Linux from scratch, of just telling you, this is also why I like this shell scripts here of having this very readable, how you also would type it on a shell actually. So let's see. So this could be as simple as just finding this GDB, not GDB, GDB config. So maybe this is just as simple as, but usually it is not as simple as configuring this. So yeah, it's not selected. So it could be as simple as, this is a conf script. Oops, also best without typo. I meant GDBM. No, we don't have that here though. So the question is, can we, by the way, intentionally today, just to have a little bit change. Yes, I know people complained. By the way, how readable is it? Slightly wonder, can we change the scaling of whatever scaling filter we use for scaling video here? But we use downscale filter, bcubic, 16 samples. whatever. So yeah, hope this is somewhat readable, but it's not. Also, some people said it's not the most readable here in terms of that. So the issue is a little bit when we test this in parallel, we could disturb the T2 scripts here of building that, but yeah, it's the risk of getting work done in parallel. So also not IVI. Tempfs disabling Tempfs, rebuilding Perl here of manual job scheduling, one Perl stuff. So we might need to patch that. We could also, we have tmux, so just why do I suspend this when I can open a new window? Perl GDBM or whatever that was, and we have here wanted GDBM. So I slightly wonder if this only fails if this is a new regression of no, we have two directories here. A new regression of checking here something. I used grub2 so it doesn't find DB and GDBM. So that's coming. What libraries to use? Checking for optional libraries. So as I didn't see this instantly in. So the problem with this kind of stuff is that this is always a little bit annoying to configure. Well, Perl certainly one of the more aging source tree stuff. Also, one day I add here an alias for. So it looks like we patch here already something for a quick test. So right now we have no changes in there. The question is, can we, wait a second, NDBM, what? For a test we could just remove this, but this kind of configuration is probably not the most amazing. The problem is also we patch as this NSL away here for whatever reason. Historic, I can't right remember, some, maybe not even me, but yeah, patching this 2 times is not really cool. Then if we have 2 patches of patching one thing away and then another thing away, then what to delete now? NDBM, why is here NDBM? Then these patches wouldn't apply independently, which is so DBM, DB. We could try this again, but so yeah, but not the greatest trend. Leave in the comments below. Are you a fan of Perl, Python, Ruby? What do you prefer? But yeah, Perl, a little bit. I found this already too bad, but yeah, the thing is, if I already entertain you talking about this a minute while we wait for this build, then I already buy through the comments and stuff. But personally, I find Perl a little bit. I found it already in 20 years ago, a little bit outdated-ish, in my opinion. But let's see if this is only a test. This is not the most clean code. This should certainly configure more optional and flexible. Feeling a little bit tired. Actually, we can. So much to having another terminal here built. Still building x86 var ADM. Do we have this building? Here we have this 2 buildings. So actually, it's better than not at all. The question is, I mean, theoretically, I would want to rather remove the dependencies than add here GDBM whatever back. Maybe I wonder if I maybe removed this recently from the default minimal selection, target generic. But it's just the last thing is 2005 GBM. So I'm not really sure when this regression, but one thing is for sure, Perl, once upon a time, Perl did cross-compile. Well, at least the issue is, of course, this is also the problem with cross versus native, also for Perl, due to their module system. when we cross-compile Perl, which we over decades always patched and repatched and patched again, and then we patch it, they break it, we patch it, they break it, because who cares about cross-compiling? Yeah, this is also the issue here with it actually building something in parallel. That's exactly the disturbance I meant. But Perl for sure, the cross-build, and the only issue is what we hack together of tweaking it so that it Perl cross-builds isn't like the full Perl, it's like a more minimal stripped down version of not supporting all features and modules, because now that would be even more work. But theoretically it would be best to have Perl and Python at least some mostly working version cross-compiled. Yeah, this actually works surprisingly. Anyway, so yeah, we continue the build there. So yeah, that was a low-hanging fruit, to be honest. But the real question is now, how do we fix this? Because like this I can't really, I mean, we have no NSL. Not really sure why I have this. Actually, maybe it could be like glibc removed a standalone NSL library of something of that sort. But here's actually some install patch min-patch cross lm. Not really sure why we have that here though. Why we need this for cross-compiling. Dirty little tracks. Yeah, so that is not super most cleanest stuff, to be honest. Maybe I leave it like that, maturing for a couple of days before I fully think about it. Python has the same issue. Python also currently didn't cross-compile the last time we checked. I slightly wonder, we could already take a look, because here we certainly wait for this build to complete. We could quickly take a look. I'm not sure if we can build Subversion without BDB, because back in the day Subversion used BDB even for the database storage for your Subversion repository, and in the meantime they have FSFS like in pure file system database as in regular files. Where is even my... here it is. So probably can have some family time in a minute, but let's extract that. I was running there. You also see how useful this tmux kind of screen, tmux kind of fun stuff is. And download mirror Subversion. Now, what would be the latest version of 13 maybe? And also we can maximum performance re-enable tempfs. And so Subversion would be interesting to see if they have a configure of building without. They have here enable BDB. What using? So they have here some. This is funny. This is also why we recently reverted this, and some people on the mailing list immediately, why precious Berkeley DB. Building against BDB6, see with Berkeley DB specification, using BDB6 will fail if this option is not used. Whatever. Berkeley. Do they have here none or this? Do they have without? We build a few. Also, yeah, I mean 2020, and you still need funny stuff like location stuff. There, I got it. Will use Berkeley to be used by APR util. Okay. So the other question is also if we can build dependencies of dependencies. Dependency hell of modern Now it's a turn. What am I even auto-completing here? Whatever, download. Bigger question is then also, can we even a APR util? So with Berkeley DB, and if you met the parse, configure script will search a number of standard places. Yeah, can you also build without though? Probably would need to grab that, but can we APR util without? Can Google answer that? Without entirely. Anyway, leave in the comments below if it's worth any effort to keep dependencies down of stuff that most people don't even want. I hear something. If user gives without DB, the entire search is skipped. That sounds amazing. The question is only, will it work then? But anyway, this would be a small, yeah, because getting rid of unneeded stuff that few people want and Oracle purchased anyway, so yeah. Oh, darn. Darn, I hope I didn't have there so much to typing first, and I hope I didn't have any so much to, darn. Commit early and often. Oops, but I think I didn't have anything in there always. So this bloopers here live on YouTube. Welcome, Thomas Falkstein. We're mostly done, updated Qemu, found out why our freaking grub2 didn't work. But yeah, now it's only time waiting for this build. Maybe actually, yeah, leave me in the comments, but also, yeah, so most people, I need to go for lunch soon. I mean, theoretically, so we could already, as long as a few minutes we sit here, so how to maybe make this work, APR util, have here BDB, so that would be, yeah, we have here, I mean, the question is, do we even need this? Because it should be the same as APR util anyway, but the bigger question is, do we need var append extra? Actually, the question is, oh, dbm, okay. The bigger question is, do we need this? Does it work without? But yeah, so leave in the comments below, is it worth the effort? Some megabyte here and there, but I'm really getting tired of all these dependencies, to be honest. And APR utils, actually okay, we need it there because this wasn't separate. And the bigger question is, do we have the same here? Actually, we have. Actually, we don't need this anymore. We have recently deleted that. But yeah, the question is, do we need to help it convince it to build without this, or would it just work? I have no idea. And maybe directly generic package cell, that probably would be, probably we grab this already, BDB, it's not in there, it's here. So yeah, let's maybe delete this here and see how this goes. The question is, did we build this already? Build x86 for ADM, log BDB, not yet built apparently. And this config, I saw this already there in the other window, already regenerated. So config x86 package, yeah, it's disabled now. So yeah, that will be interesting to see. Maybe we save on package. Although I have actually, maybe we could already commit this. What I've done for the XFCE build, not XFCE looks also a little bit abundant, only on basic maintenance. Do they, by the way, I think they rewrite it, right? For what do they rewrite this? Right now for whatever they have here, switch to GitLab maintenance, and so major UI changes. What was this for? GTK3 rewrite maybe, I have no idea. One thing for sure, this old stuff didn't change much. So not too many updates and so on, but even for something as simple as XFCE, we need quite some dependencies as seen on the other live stream. So that would be minimal desktop. So all this stuff, including GTK3, I had to add for something, not really sure for what I had that. But yeah, ICU for C for some Unicode stuff, even dbus, libtuzn for GNU TLS needed something of GTK. Then XFCE even needed libxinerama for good old-fashioned multi-head Xorg stuff, FreeBD certainly. Then more GTK plus. I really wonder what we needed GTK plus 3 for. This year I removed quite some because, yeah, old-fashioned KDE3 stuff, yeah. And then even libWNC, yeah, also yeah, libwinchnik, dbus libnotify unique. And this unique is even too new. I recently updated this libunique. So this is now libunique 3. Apparently this old XFCE stuff wants libunique 1. So I probably need to check actually. Yeah, if we need to package libunique 1. Yeah, Angelo says first time he hears about BerkeleyDB. Yes, BerkeleyDB, super old stuff, decades old, 2-3 decades old. One of the first free open source DB stuff, like local DB, like local file DB, not remote DB, as MySQL or some other stuff. Even fun fact, even NVI of old-fashioned NVI fame switched to use BerkeleyDB. Totally crazy in my opinion. I only found this out recently. I never touched NVI, which I used as a small minimal NVI implementation. No issue for decades, and recently updated this a little bit, and it now uses, I'm not sure if it before used, but now it's using BDB, BerkeleyDB for undo management. Totally hilarious stuff, like a small VI implementation, right? Crazy stuff. 2020 or 2018 or 16 or 2010 or whenever they did that. But in a way, it's of course the old style version of SQLite. Nowadays, of course, SQLite, which by the way, when SQLite appeared maybe 15 years ago, over a decade ago, I didn't take it too seriously. It was like SQLite, so small file DB for stuff like a music player and KDE or stuff. Really surprised that this SQLite now is everyone's household name for your local file DB, not only for your GNOME music player, but also your Firefox and all the web stuff of using local SQL stuff for fancy modern websites. So yeah, nowadays certainly most stuff SQLite, but yeah, BDB. Also Oracle purchased it for quite some money. We can actually fact check that. Oracle BDB purchase. Wonder how many millions they spent on this. So that was already, yeah, from Sleepycat Software, 1996. So just the year when I joined this open source stuff. Company was acquired by Oracle Corporation in 2006 already. Did they list there the price of whatever? But yeah, really curious why Oracle did that. Spending money on this questionable stuff. But anyway, yeah, Subversion before SQLite was a thing. Subversion used this as the version backend there on the server. And nowadays they also have at least FSFS backend for storing directly in files and file system. But anyway, Luke, right, Silicon Graphics, want to get a Silicon Graphics one, recommend for beginner. Yeah, Luke, right, Silicon Graphics, you might be, so yeah, we of course have here Octane and Northern Origin, which I only purchased an Octane myself. The thing is, I can't really recommend any of them, maybe unpopular opinion, because they're super overpriced on eBay, right? Even I would want for the open source stuff like maybe a vPro, SGI vPro graphic card for the fun of it, but I don't see why I should spend $300 to $600 or something for just spending even more time. So yeah, just like tinkering on this and writing open source, I need to spend this money, which is, yeah, so I just touched this here because, yeah, whatever. So yeah, totally overpriced stuff. And because the issue is, of course, you can't use it for much. Even so, the Octane I had dual. I think my Octane, the one I purchased, all the surprises went crazy, right? I said this before. I don't recall correctly what I spent for the Octane. When the Octane I purchased off of eBay from a local IT recycling leasing stuff for not much, 100. I don't remember, 100, maybe 100, maybe 95, maybe 115, something of that sort. I would need to look it up. This is of course total bargain nowadays. Such an Octane nowadays easily would sell on eBay for 2, if not 3, 4. If you are lucky and find someone like here in the audience, if I would say it's amazing and museum piece, whatever, I might even sell it for 300 or 500. But truth be told, unpopular opinion, you can't use it for much except your MIPS testing or historic museum piece collection stuff. And even the faster Octane that I got by pure chance and accident, not even for running this YouTube channel, but by pure Twitter randomness when I picked up my second Octane for whopping for free. And that is even faster, right? So my second for free Octane just the other year, not only does it come with an amazing DAT tape, previous video there, but with a faster processor board. So dual processor, 250 megahertz. So it's somewhat faster than my dual 195 or 195 or 196 or whatever that was. But even the faster Octane is of course not nice to work with, right? Even the freaking PS3 is at the edge of being nice to work with in terms of, yes, it's clocked at 3.2 or whatever gigahertz, but the pipeline is a Pentium 4 like pipeline here on the IBM cell. IBM Toshiba Sony cell 23 or so, probably by the way can fact check that. So that what the issue is that each jump, each pipeline stall, each mispredicted branch, huge pipeline refill delay, and that certainly hampers performance. Also, it's not even the PS3, not dual core or dual processor, but hyper-threaded, so similar to Intel, hyper-threading, sharing resources. And so it's not like dual core, it's hyper-threaded, certainly less performant than dual core. And yeah, even the 3 point, whatever, what did I wanted to fact check the frequency or what, or pipeline length cell. Does Google find it here of whatever pipeline? Yeah, load, hit, store, pipeline store, 40 clock cycles of whatever. But why do they not have that here? Length of hello pipeline. Why is this here nowhere written? Can't make this stuff up. Yeah, 3.2 gigahertz. At least I remembered that right. Why do they not have pipeline length here? That is hilarious. Yeah, 2 threads, but not 2 cores. It's hyper-threaded and whatever. So what I wanted to say is even the performance, you have seen this compiling your Amiga emulator of FSU, AE, whatever, fame, previous live stream, 40 minutes on a 3.2 gigahertz dual hyper-threaded PowerPC. And yeah, this is magnitudes faster than an Octane, so not really sure. If you want a collector's piece, sure, get an O2 or Octane. So O2, in retrospect, I didn't do my research, right? When the Octane, I was shocked when I auctioned this. I looked a little bit around in 2005 or so. Even mailed Stanislav I think his name is from, who did all the initial port and reverse engineering there of Linux, SGA, IP30, Octane Linux, Speed Racer fame. And even messaged them, hey, I don't have this MIP stuff, I do Spark and PowerPC stuff, and would you recommend this or that, or how much does it work, would you recommend it at all, or how broken is it and stuff, and had some emails there with him. I was shocked, I didn't do my actually research, I was shocked, shared memory frame buffer, no dedicated 3D graphics hardware, and so on, but certainly it's more desktopable, and so I was shocked by the size, by the weight, and by the noise. Everything in favor of the O2, but of course O2 is slower. Also, yeah, anyway, but certainly, maybe unpopular opinion. As usual, looking forward to your comments. And yeah, but otherwise, certainly, even in low performance entry-level workstation, SGO2 nowadays on eBay. This is also why I don't have. I would love to have one, but not for $300 or $600 or good God for. There's right now one on eBay. One strange little fellow tries to sell a SGIO2 special offline assembly stuff for nearly $50,000 on eBay. It's like, yeah. Anyway, I wonder if they ever sell this. 50,000, 49,000, whatever $. Anyway, but yeah, but again, recurring reminder, this stuff is slow, right? So unlike you use it with your custom Linux stuff like ours, and specially optimized in black box and maybe console, it's, yeah, certainly for the historic collecting stuff, but otherwise, this is also why I'm a little bit frustrated. I usually negotiate this down. I just got the other day some good old-fashioned x86 stuff from eBay. I usually quite a negotiator. I usually try to squeeze all the stuff down, and if it's too overpriced, I simply usually try not to buy it. But yeah, anyway, for what you can do with it, it's only worth that for a collector, and even then it's like, yeah. Anyway, good morning there, Model Citizen Jersey. Spent another fun night studying T2 kernel, build P3 instead of doing boring uni homework. Way better than my time. Anyway, thanks for that. Hope you learned something. Yeah, crazy than Mac. Yeah, yeah. Although, of course, Macs. People in the comments comparing why we waiting for this build to build. Of course, Macs are more commodity, right? They were sold as household items. They're in the 12% market share range. Of course, SGI, even at its best times, had a 0 point something market share if you look at desktop computers. So yeah, Mason theoretically, yeah, whatever. We also need to do something about that thing. So Mason cross-compiling Python stuff, right? For anyway, this is Mason and Ninja. Can touch this already. So eventually we probably should also another day take a look at somehow cross-preparing Mason and Ninja for this modern build fame, because now why should this just work? But yeah, certainly understandable that this SGI stuff is more expensive given that the numbers were so low. I also, with all the YouTube stuff, which by the way is also quite interesting conversations with people messaging and so on, which, recurring reminder, I with this 5,000 subscribers, I'm at the border of not being able to answer all individual emails and message requests all over the place because of time and stuff. But this is also, by the way, best ask your questions here live on YouTube live streams, because we sit here already. If I off video need to do other work like text papers and commercial software stuff, then I cannot also answer these questions. But people told me that this is also why this is crazy, right? When this SGI stuff were decommissioned in universities or research institutes or fancy companies, they often were thrown away, right? Given to the employees, recycled, or just like scrap metal collectors. So I heard stories in the meantime of people picking up like 10, 20, 30 SGI stuff for free, and they couldn't even take all. Like they came with a truck and they picked up like 30 like SG octanes, and they couldn't even take all, like in some university or something. Crazy. So yeah, for those people who got it for free and now sell it for, like, open source people like me want to do something, and for contributing my time, like as you see here, weeks and months of reverse engineering graphic stuff and even the hardware cursor and other, keeping it working and just frustratingly guru meditating of compile errors of GCC binutils Linux kernel, and I should spend 300 to 600 on top of donating my time, even spend all those hard-earned bucks of nobody wants to pay me for open source stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, I wish also those people who, which sometimes it happens, like 1Octane I got for free, and even some cool people sent in some memory modules and other, so all donations highly appreciated, even if it's memory modules or a spare graphic card, which, by the way, I'm looking for an O2 and vPro. But yeah, this is also why I'm not the most thrilled of all those people bulk collected SGI stuff in abundant scrap metal stuff, and we should, open source wise, even spend $300, $600 or even more dollars. Not the most amazing, which certainly even that I really currently do here, right? For all the Roland MT32, all the money spent for getting here some collection of YouTube video production goodness and testing and stuff. But yeah, fun little story, and why it is certainly crazy to fame. I was surprised when I didn't look on the seller too closely, but so much to that, right? You buy something off of eBay, this retro vintage stuff, and who sends it to you? This was a recycling center, right? So for €35 I purchased from a recycling center there in Germany. Here this. So yeah, you buy, effectively you buy worthless recycling scrap stuff from other people. So yeah. Anyway, that's so much to the eBay stuff, but priorities, only gonna use it test RX because can't emulate. What? I was only gonna use it. So there is some GX emulator. So if you want to emulate it, this for iRix, this GX emulator has somewhat working O2 stuff in the meantime, right? So maybe your time better spent than spending this overpriced stuff than either adding this yourself to Qemu or working on this QX emulator stuff, because it has somewhat booting O2 stuff of SGI2 system something, which, yeah, some graphic corruption that you probably could help work on or whatever, but yeah, certainly cheaper, and you can travel with it and doesn't collect dust and doesn't cost money except your work. Lux asks, don't forget about N64 dev work. Yeah, but we need to JIT this, right? I mean, you write can run Linux. What do you mean with can run Linux? You need to write more sentences, more complete sentences. Kind of, but I mean, SGI boxes are great for, yeah, maybe not. Anyway, how many builds do we have to go? Create error list of, also need to go home soon of configs x86-64. That has a typo, of course not XF, so much to typing this rule, 192 to go, but anyway, the good thing is those small packages build rather quickly. Yes, of course, RX is proprietary and binary only for the most part. And Toy Story was animated, yeah, also probably, so a lot of even Terminator 2 maybe, or Jurassic Park, all this 90s stuff, a lot of stuff done on SGI stuff of the innovators in forefront of 3D hardware accelerated stuff, of course, back in the day, the latest and greatest high-end. But that it was high-end in the 90s doesn't mean that, certainly also the 3DFX Voodoo was high-end in the 90s, and doesn't mean that you won't nowadays constantly game the latest and greatest Crysis on a 3DFX Voodoo. Open firmware 4, run risk boxes before OS boots. Doesn't help you much with proprietary. So Angelo writes, $1,000 computers ending up recycling centers sounds kind of sad. Yeah, but that's the same for Intanium, right? So nowadays I've seen, maybe even on other YouTubers, I've just seen, so this is not only, but you also need to understand that at the day, so when some university or research lab or something runs these computers and they make their profit or whatever, research, not makes profit, but research, they run it until, this is the same nowadays. So if they decommission the latest and greatest x86 supercomputers like this Intanium racks of IA64, Intel fame, especially this big, maybe even SGI or other boxes that have install those at national research stuff there and so on. This is scrap metal, right? Nobody wants to buy this overpriced stuff. You can't sell it off of eBay. It might not even this blade stuff, the supercomputer stuff, all those modules will probably not even run individually, so you would need the whole backplane. Who wants to have a whole 19-inch rack, server rack with SGI or other HP backplane stuff that even needs high power outlets, so not only normal office wall outlets, so you even need your high power outlet there to 3-phase probably to top power your Intanium whatever. So I've seen other YouTubers at research labs decommissioning this, like disassembling this, maybe listing a single Intanium processor on eBay, but even the board is custom, right? So they disassemble the aluminum or copper blocks and throw the aluminum and copper in some containers. But yeah, I mean, what else do you gonna do with this supercomputer stuff? But yeah, but leave in the comments below. And also, by the way, yeah, I need to make a dedicated shout out before you throw it away, like give it to open source people, like, hey, here we are, because yeah, still need some alpha Intanium and maybe O2, but anyway. So yeah, SGI does not use open firmware. SGI uses ARCs, as seen in me guru meditating and debugging my head out of that. But yeah, so SGI is ARCs, and yeah, anyway. So Tem dump once but couldn't take it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, cross-compiling the stuff. So we are down, so we hot fixed Perl a little bit, YOLO'd that a little bit there. Slightly wonder what happened with Python. Did we, or maybe actually we randomly, so my, oh, still a drop of cold coffee. Maybe we accidentally cross-built here Python in terms of on x86 it might, no? Yeah, on x86 it randomly built also xtrap. What? This is slightly funny that this looks like, I saw this the other day, I have the feeling that might be a regression in Xorg Protos. Maybe they have removed this, maybe this libxtrap is so outdated that they removed this header in Xorg Proto, because that's what they usually do. Okay, we have xtrap and libxtrap. Anyway, probably should leave this. We got a couple of more minutes. So the question is, we could try two things. In the recurring theme here of minimizing dependencies, we could actually target generic package cell, what was it, B20 minimal of Xorg, or no, this is probably then 30, 40 minimal Xorg. Do we have here trap something? No. Then maybe we disable this libxtrap and we enable all of this, but maybe we just see if we can build without libxtrap here. If not really sure if that is still used for something. Trying to well, it certainly, if it would still build or something, it would probably build in a snap here. But by the way, you mean 20 anniversary map with Tem? You mean you saw a 20 anniversary map? That is certainly crazy. But anyway, so yeah, 50 minutes, error list of 158 to go. Let's see how far we can go. We could actually, with all this, a lot of stuff I remember, but libxtrap, I wonder, actually we could check theoretically what we could also do next, because we're certainly professionals here and want to make our Linux the greatest Linux out there, because priorities and things. trap. I wonder if, yeah, when this was fully modularized, this is what I meant, we could certainly make this descriptions here more amazing, because when certainly I'm so long around, I still remember the days not only of this monolithic releases, meaning all of this X stuff being in one tarball thing, or 3 or 6 tarballs in X33 and X34. So back in that day, before Xorg, we had, before this module Xorg, we had just all in one package, so of X386 package. And yeah, when this was modularized, as so often, I YOLO'd this a little bit. It's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care much about this description, because yeah, whoever looks into this, so probably we could perfect that another day. Also here is similar of this old whatever MISC stuff, missing something. Let's just try how much stuff builds without this, because the less the better. Why build it when nothing uses it anyway, and whatever. Yeah, keyboard subwoofer, just the AIO. Yeah, that is however said though, but yeah, they of course also go easily for 800 or something dollars regularly on eBay. Let's see. So we have mostly small packages. So, but there you see how much time passes just in with, like, yeah, mostly 31 threads set and idle here. What distro you install? Our own we build, we do not install, we cross compile here our latest. So T2, welcome here to this only YouTube channel where we build our own, not only build, but because building is just configure, make install, but even develop. So welcome to the funny little YouTube channel where we even more open than open source as an open development, building here, updating Qemu previously a couple of minutes ago, updating Qemu to 5.0, fixing a little bit bugs, taking a look of what to improve, make smaller, optimize, building without some packages dependencies, and certainly for the PS3 here, also live here with this cable plugin. So the only distribution that runs on the PS3 is G-Octane, other fun PowerPC MIPS, Spark, and similar fun stuff. You manually compiling everything. No, we're not crazy. Nobody manually compiles something. If you manually compile something, you're doing something wrong. We fully automate something. So fully automated cross compilation. Right now, cross compiling even. So yeah, you see this stuff scrolling by. This is not manually compiling. This is our distribution build scripts doing their thing. And no, this is not Gentoo. This is, I say we run our own distributions and it's just Gentoo. No, this is more vanilla, more readable, more sorted, better sorted patches, and distributed, like not everything YOLO together on previous video. Gentoo YOLOing clobbering all their patches and tarballs and putting them on some mirror and then hopes that they are still there. We do it here professionally with version patches and sources and readable shell scripts, and also cross-compiling to non-x86 architectures, PowerPC, ARM, MIPS, Spark, you name it. Felix Brewer uses Arch, but a patched Pacman compiles the packages instead of installing binaries. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, also T2 as previously known as Rock Linux before we forked it, and Rock Linux is not around anymore, but maybe you heard of Rock Linux, where I contributed since 1997-ish, and once upon a time, decades ago, was stable release maintainer before we did our embedded thing here. For professionally cross-compiling it for all the architectures. So how many, also this was wrong, I wanted to create error list of, so how many, oh man, one. What do I even create error list of X80, also so much to that. 119 to go, darn it. Yeah, also maybe another day, I said this already before, maybe I should have here a package counter of counting how many packages to go, then I wouldn't need to run it independently, then maybe this would actually be quite useful of here of 1 out of 279 or something. maybe that would at least be useful for me or this YouTube live streams. Anyway, need to go in a second. That's probably it for this video, unfortunately. Yeah, how long are we? Yeah, 1 hour 25. So yeah, this AMD Ryzen epic thread-ripping AMD Ryzen 3950X. Due to here, I wish this configure time. So as much as we don't like and not a fan of Meson, of modern build system stuff, but at least one thing is it usually wastes less time on configuring. So as much as we're not the greatest fan, now we have it integrated here anyway, all the previous live streams. At least it's faster in not testing too much random garbage. So yeah, a little bit sad that this is why usually on previous live streams we compiled ARM, RISC-V, Spark, MIPS and whatnot here in parallel for making a better use of all this available CPU threads, because yeah, you see compiling, but yeah, mostly configuring. It's really sad. So, but yeah, this probably means a minimal ISO build here, probably easily 2 hours. I mean, we are 1 hour 20 something in. So yeah, so much to that. And we probably not sure what else do we. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you soon for our next fun videos here and live streams. Again, new Qemu version out. We packaged it already. We have now APR. This is approaching here of can we compile? Maybe I wait another minute. So APR build now. This is a test whether we can build APR util. Okay, we can build APR util. This was the question of earlier. Then we have answered this. Also the question is, do we need to guide it like that with disable BDB Berkeley? Yeah, without Berkeley DB this apparently works. And the question is, does Subversion build without Berkeley DB? This is what we've done earlier. Then we would have one more somewhat mostly useless. Yeah, SQLite. There we have that of previous mentioned. But yeah, probably we could already APR prepare that APR util and Subversion. Maybe we commit this together because it's the same topic of guiding. Not sure if we need this. I could test this, but no, I could also just commit this. But yeah, I said this before. People, maybe we wait another minute before I leave here. How many hour list of 104 to go? Means a small, yeah, but even SQLite, yeah, configure stuff. Model 30 says thanks for the documentation. Yeah, so much to Debian people calling our distribution unsuccessful one man, not only not one man, but not only not unsuccessful, as given how many embedded people also use it and never contract us because it just works too good. But yeah, you're welcome. So much to that efforts. Maybe I, after a decade, should update it a little bit. But the problem is it's using Apache formatted object something stuff. So if I want to work on the documentation, I would need to get this old stuff working again, or probably not transitioning this documentation anytime soon. But what did I want to say? APR. But yeah, hope you learned something, and I really need to leave now. But Cairo, can we already? Did we already build? Probably not. Maybe I should Subversion. Didn't build it yet. I really would want to know if Subversion built though. Maybe I euro that and Subversion in between there, because why not? But yeah, hope it's useful and you want to use it. Certainly, as you see, super useful for cross-compiling embedded stuff. One of the best systems and like curated, packaged compiling description patch sets of readable stuff, like not as tarball compressed and sent there on some mirror archive stuff like other distributions do. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, it wants serve. Fair enough. Can probably manually build that. But yeah, what I do here now is cutting some corners and manually mixing some builds in, because not only do I need to leave, but I'm curious if we can build Subversion without Berkeley DB, but maybe this works and then we have one dependency less. But again, as seen previously, I'm really torn in this minimal Xorg build as, yeah, or like actually manually desktop build. This is why I'm somewhat, yeah, it also needs some UTF proc. Thank you very much for that. Which would that be? UTF of config x86 really need to go though. Oh, is the famous last rest? Actually, it's in the build, so let's, is it, oh wait a second, text, it's actually UTF 8 proc. This was fast. Do we have, I mean, they're still building, yeah, at least the Ryzen 1350X is not bored anymore. Here, also with our CPU cycles, we do something useful, not like the other YouTubers only benchmarking it with Cinebench. We also put them to good use, so all these electrons are not spinning around there and are wasted for nothing. Proxy, the only thing is we can't use it as much for benchmarking, because each time we build it in some other configuration, it certainly influences the build time, and each time we update the compiler and linker and assembler and Linux kernel. Hey, so Subversion also built without Berkeley DB, so final conclusion here for this live stream. So even I learned something we can nowadays. Not really sure if it was possible a decade ago, but nowadays we can build Subversion without BDB for less dependencies and craft and stuff, and at least something. But with the minimal desktop, I'm somewhat torn with all the stuff needed for XFCE somehow. Yeah, so many dependencies even for this stuff, and then we have even GTK 2 and 3. Would need to check what needs what, but yeah, probably there was a reason for something. But anyway, that's it for today. Probably later today we have a new ISO for all those people waiting for a new x86 ISO for playing along at home. And as seen, the issue was super minor. Grub module corruption stuff of stripping this, as explained in the beginning of this video. I hope you learned something. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon for next videos and live streams to come.